Okay, so we're back on good old SPQR. This is the Battle of Beneventum. Now this is the first of the basic set that I'm playing. Not necessarily the simplest battle at all, but it's actually the first scenario in the scenario book, even though the next one, Bagrades Plains, is supposedly the best introductory scenario. I'm not sure how this fits in with the scenarios available in the deluxe set because I've got this mishmash. But anyway, it's an interesting situation because the Romans are encamped, and this is Pyrrhus again coming in. Oh, I didn't put my leaders out yet. Well, here's his force. He's got kind of an advanced guard of cav and some light skirmishers, then his heavy center, and some medium infantry for his flank sides. Now he's going to be coming in over on this side of the board. It's nighttime. The Romans, as they like to do, are set up in a camp, and they have scorpions here, basically ballista type things, I think, which have their own rules and are apparently fairly potent. They also have the camp itself, which, if we look at the combat value of, is pretty good defensive terrain, to tell you the truth. Shifts in your favor. As the defender, a number of penalties to crossing the walls, etc. Now, historically, the Romans came out and offered a fight. I'm not quite sure what Pyrrhus thought he was doing sneaking up on them, and I'm not sure what advantage there is to it, but in the scenario terms, the Romans lose if after 10 turns, I believe, they don't have anybody outside their walls. That's after the scenario starts and they're alerted and stuff like that. The terrain is somewhat clear near the fort itself, but then there's some rough terrain. It's not the perfect stuff for the Epirots to fight in. And I'm not really too impressed that they have a lot of advantages here in terms of sneaking up, but we'll see how it plays out. Now the Romans have a couple of little special things, one of which is for the scorpions they have the possibility of flaming arrows, but if they use those and the unit that's firing the scorpion has to withdraw for whatever reason, he will knock over a pot of Greek fire and burn the whole tower down. How much that really matters is hard to tell, because if he's forced to withdraw, that probably means that the Epirots would normally be taking the tower and gaining whatever defensive benefit there is for that, which is not tremendous, but a slight advantage. And instead it becomes a flaming tower and actually prevents them from getting in. So overall, I think it's to the Romans' advantage if they end up burning it down by accident, probably. Either way, they're going to lose the scorpion. They also have flaming pigs. Both of these are options to help fight the remaining Epiroan elephants that Pyrrhus is going to be bringing in. And these flaming pigs, if they successfully move in, roll on this table, and there's a possibility that they automatically rout an elephant unit. The Romans are allowed to do this twice in the game. It's kind of a silly little bit, but okay. I have to look up the army withdrawal rules here because the points here are not from the Pyrrhic War scenario, and there's no option to use that version. This is using the basic version, which I think is just straight tactical quality. Size doesn't count into it. Not positive about that. But the points are lower, and we're looking at 135 route points for Rome to break and 95 for Pyrrhus to break. Pyrrhus is worth 25 if he's wounded. If he's killed, the Romans win automatically. No big shock there. Okay, well, let's give it a see, and should be kind of interesting. So dawn has broken here after the initial approach. The Epirots did not make any particular attempt to try to bring everything up as close as they could and get organized before the battle, which may be a mistake. Most particularly, their advanced guard moved up within the dawn line, which is this one, I believe. Yeah. So on the first turn, the Romans are going to be active, as well as the Epirots. It's a hard word to say because it's close to Imperials. Okay, anyway, that's where we are. I decided not to take any particular attempt to be tricky. Tactics ain't my strong point, or strategy, or any of that stuff. Anyway, the Romans do have to deploy, so this, because they lose the battle if they don't get out within the first 10 turns, I think it is. 5 turns, they automatically end up alerting no matter what, even if for some reason, and I can't imagine why, Pyrrhus ends up staying behind the daybreak line. Okay, so we'll start what really amounts to a regular turn, except for the Roman ability to deploy outside the fort. So here we are after the first turn, first real turn of Beneventum. The Romans are beginning to make their way out of the gates, trying to form up. Meanwhile, we got the Greeks setting up a skirmisher line. The rest of their force is also not really deployed yet. And this is one of the problems with the way I moved forward. If I had held back and brought everything forward at once, I might have been able to have a more coherent situation to attack from. But I'm a lazy person and just charged forward, as I'm kind of wont to do. I don't think it's going to make a lot of difference. Although certainly it does. Yeah, so one of the things is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, wait a minute. We got a shot. Those guys came within range. So I'm going to take a couple of pot shots at them, I guess. Somewhere or another. I'm out at range 7, which means I need zeros to hit. And I didn't get them. These guys, the Scorpions, get to fire twice in a turn. You mark them off with these things. I'm not really too worried about it because only one was in range and I just took care of it. Wasn't liable to do any damage anyway. All right, well, I guess I flipped all the counters over. It's time to start another turn. On to another turn, and, well, we see the Greeks beginning to deploy. Now, they're not following anything like a reasonable deployment as far as I'm concerned. You know, when you see these battles start, usually there's cav on each wing and this center of phalanxes. Well, because of the road, how I deployed, how I moved forward, etc., seeing the screen of skirmishers, no problem there. But it looks like the phalanx is going to be cutting kind of diagonally with very little protecting its flank. All the cav is centered here. And I can get those elephants over to protect that right flank. Then I got this, the hoplites, etc., and the medium infantry in this position where they're kind of trailing. All because I didn't want to take the time to form up and move forward properly. On the other hand, the Romans aren't particularly getting their formation right either. We got, I don't think these calves should be there. I think they were supposed to exit through the rear. But they came charging out the front to provide a little bit of screen somehow or another. And we got some of the regular heavy legionary units here. The Velites are out to the sides. with the cohorts there, and that's what's supposed to be happening, but they're having a hard time forming anything reasonable here. On the other hand, the Greeks can't really charge forward, not only because they didn't move forward in good order. They threw the skirmishers out in front, but also they don't want to go charging forward into those scorpions. As it stands, they're able. They've taken shots, but they haven't taken any damage. So I don't know. We'll see how my disorder on both sides works. And another turn here, and the deployment continues. The Greek skirmishers moving forward have finally started to take casualties from the scorpions, actually. Very lucky shot by the scorpions. They ended up doing a lot of damage to the Cretan archers. Heavy cav moving forward. I slid the light cav towards the right flank, as well as the elephants. The elephants might be a mistake because the terrain's not terribly suited to any kind of cav action over there. But also, the Romans don't really have a lot of cav on that side. They have it for some reason in the center. As I said, I probably cheated there. And then over here on their right flank. Phalanxes beginning to form up here. A couple more of them are going to move more towards the center. And hopefully we'll start to engage soon. We're not seeing a lot here. I'm going to ship this one up, but this one certainly has taken a fairly long time just in terms of turns. It's been 3 turns or whatever, without anything happening. Just slowly trying to pull the Romans out of the camp and get the Greeks close to them. But you can see how hard it is to try to set up something in a reasonable line of battle beforehand. Of course, it gets disorganized so quickly thereafter, once an engagement actually starts, that it almost doesn't seem worth trying to get it perfect the way most of the battles are set up. Alright, up this one goes.